Hello and welcome to Views on News. I am Jawad Tehami. Now, owing to the relentless bombardment by the Israeli troops and an unabating ground invasion in the besieged Gaza Strip, according to Gaza's health ministry, over 25,000 innocent Palestinians have lost their lives, mostly children and women. Around 85% of the population in this besieged Gaza Strip of 2.3 million has been displaced. Now, there has been a statement that has come from the United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, while he was speaking at the United Nations Security Council high-level meeting on Middle East. He said it was unacceptable for Israel's government to reject a two-state solution to its conflict with the Palestinians, warning that the move would embolden the extremists everywhere. He's also said that the refusal and the denial of the right to statehood to Palestinian people would indefinitely prolong a conflict that has become a threat to global peace and security, at the same time saying that Israeli occupation must end. Now, this particular statement came from the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres after there was an earlier statement made by Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, in which he had said that he had told the United States that he opposes the establishment of an independent Palestinian state, and also his country wants to take a complete control of the security of the Palestinian territories. After this particular statement by Israeli Prime Minister, there was a response by the U.S. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby, who said that the U.S. and Israel obviously see things differently, and we want the governance in Gaza that's representative of the aspirations of the Palestinian people, that they have a vote and a voice in what that looks like, and that there is no reoccupation of Gaza. Also, we have seen that the UK's Foreign Secretary, Mr. David Cameron, will be in Israel, which according to the UK's Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office is in the hopes of achieving a sustainable ceasefire in Gaza. Also, when we talk about the Palestinian Foreign Minister, Mr. Riyad al-Maliki, he was also speaking at the United Nations Security Council high-level meeting regarding Gaza. He said that Israelis don't see our people as an empirical and political reality to exist with, but a demographic threat to get rid of through this displacement or subjugation. In today's program, we are going to take an analysis on the intention behind these recent statements by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and we'll also be taking the analysis as to what the US reaction to these particular statements have been, and also the urgency once again that has been expressed by the United Nations chief regarding the two-state solution. And we'll be taking all these aspects regarding the situation in Gaza that is worsening with every single passing moment. And for that, we are honored to have been joined in the studio by Mr. Agha Iqrar Haroon. He is senior analyst. Mr. Haroon, thank you very much for taking time out for Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that. Also, we are honored to have been joined in the studio by Mr. Bakir Younas. He's Arab journalist. Mr. Younas, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. At the same time, on Skype, we are honored to have been joined by Riffat Masood, former ambassador. Riffat Masood, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that. Let me begin the discussion with you, Mr. Haroon. Now, these recent statements by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, what do you think is the intention behind these particular statements? He's repeatedly said that this particular offensive is to continue until the complete victory.
Thank you so much. If you remember in UNGA event, he showed a map to the world. That was the map, the future map of Middle East. In that particular map, there was no Palestine. Yes, there was a road network starting from India, going through to very important Muslim countries, and then entering into Haifa, and from Haifa to Europe. That is basically the future of this Middle East. That is what he understands. And this his statement that there could not be a independent, you can say, two-state kind of a thing, meaning by this is the same lines that India did it by abrogation of 370. So you can say his statement is a abrogation of UN resolutions. So there are so many similarity. And if you talk about the response of Europe, particularly you can say the EU response, yes, EU response is, I can say, very important. But at the same time, United Kingdom is using its all weapon power to eliminate Houthis, to other, I mean, non-state actors who are providing support, the ground support, or the, I mean, the regional support to Palestine. Meaning by they want to purge everybody, they want to cut everything to size, then there would be nobody to help Palestine or so-called Hamas, because today I don't consider Hamas an independent entity. It is representing Palestinians. I mean, just a year ago or so, I also thought Hamas is compared, because it was actually crafted against PLO and the whole long story. I don't want to go into detail. Even then, this all Western powers were there. They wanted to basically purge PLO, and they created a new Hamas for that, to replacing the PLO. And if you remember the very famous interview of Brzezinski, who was, you can say, an assistant or the consultant to the American Prime Minister, when once he was asked, why did you attack Soviet Union? So his answer was, it was very important, because there was 40 camps of PLO in Soviet Union, and disbanding the Soviet Union was very important for us. So remember all these things in your mind. So all statements which are coming from the Western world are, for me, they are useless unless they provide support to the Palestinian. Instead of providing the support to the Palestinian, they are cutting down the all components which are there at least to contest the, I mean, brutal power of Israel.
Right, Mr. Younas, now, what does Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu mean when he repeatedly talks of a complete victory when it comes to this ongoing current offensive in Gaza?
You see, we have to understand the situation, with its terminologies. You are calling him the Prime Minister. I will call him the prime occupiers. You see, they are actually an occupiers. They have occupied Palestine, and now they don't want the Palestinians to resist. They don't want the Palestinians to ask for their land. It will never happen. Logically, it never happened. Read the whole history since the creation of this universe till today. No one accepts an occupier. Okay, two-state solution is a solution actually was given to them, to the Israelis, to, okay, fine, you want to stay in Palestine, give the Palestinians a place to live. But Palestinians have never accepted this as well. Do you think that Palestinians would accept an occupiers on their land? No, they will never. See, so these 2 points we have to understand. Plus, we have to also see the political point of view of the prime occupier, Netanyahu. Netanyahu, actually, he have his ideological Jewish concepts on which he have based his political concepts. So it all goes to their Jewish concepts, to their religion. For them, Israel have no borders. That's why they will never accept the two-state, even if we accept, because for them they have a wider border. They want to go to part of Egypt, part of Saudi Arabia, part of Syria, Jordan. So it's a different plan. We should understand it in this concept. Yes, it's for him kind of a chance and opportunity now. Yes, Palestinians have started, a process in which they are trying to take back their land. So let's have an offense. For him, a victory doesn't mean killing Palestinians, doesn't mean having Gaza. No, for them, victory is to have the greater plan of a greater Israel, they call, which actually includes parts of Saudi Arabia, parts of Egypt, parts of Syria, parts of Lebanon. So this concept he's looking for. This is their victory. A victory that he will only claim victory when there is no one resist their appearance or their occupiers in the Middle East.
So I'll come back to you to take your understanding of when we look at this statement by the U.S. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby as to the vote and the voice and the governance system that is owned and led by the Palestinian people. And he also saying that it's the US and Israel who see things differently. Let me proceed to words Ambassador Riffat Masood. Ambassador Masood, now when we talk about these statements, what's your understanding when Israeli Prime Minister, as the world knows him, as Mr. Bakir Younas is of the view that he's a prime occupier rather than he should be addressed as such, what is the basic intention in these particular statements? What sort of a complete victory does he want to achieve?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. I hope you can hear me and see me also.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Please go ahead. It's an honor to have you on board tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, the thing is, I'd like to take a moment and not go back into history so much, but just remind all of us here that October the 7th, 2023, actually happened on September the 22nd, 2023, when the analyst who was speaking before me spoke about Netanyahu's speech in the UN, in which he showed a map of Greater Israel. And Greater Israel has actually been on the Israeli agenda right from the beginning. And I'm a bit afraid, I'm sorry, and I'm afraid that this has not been pointed out by analysts and by media earlier, that it should not have come as a surprise what has happened. Because Israel, number one, has never ever accepted that there should be a Palestinian state in its territory. That's why it occupied it. Why would an occupier, it doesn't make sense, why would an occupier want to have another state within its occupied territory? Number one. Number two, Palestinians may have agreed, some factions of Palestinians may have agreed to having this two-state solution, but don't forget that this was never going to work out. I mean, if you look at the map of Gaza, of Palestine today, you see Gaza in one corner, which is a small strip, and then you see the West Bank. How is it geographically, technically, politically, diplomatically, economically possible to have a state within a state? So this was, I think, an idea. Even and I know that the topic of your conversation is the fact that the two-state solution has been rejected. Well, I'm afraid it was rejected long ago. And the UN Secretary General, having said this now, I think he's just pulling at straws, because this was never going to happen. Israel's agenda is the same as any occupying force. They do not want to confine themselves to the borders of Israel as it is today. They want to expand. It's an expansionist force. My friend and brother from the Arab world was just saying that they want to go into Egypt and they want to go into Saudi Arabia. I think they want to go beyond that. I think they want to go as far as Iran. And that's why I think it is a very, very serious issue. And I think that although what is happening in Gaza is of course terrible, and it is something that we must always portray and condemn, but I think we should also very coldly analyze what Israel's hidden agenda is and what they're trying to do. And what they're trying to do is to expand as far east as Iran, neutralize Iran, because don't forget Iran is a big threat to Israel, and go as far west as the Mediterranean Sea. Now, this in itself is a major cause for instability, rise of extremism, and further destabilization of the entire region. And I think in Pakistan, we should be well aware of the fact that Israel is not going to stop here. And we have to now look at it from the point of view of how are we going to try and put pressure on Israel to not move forward. And for that, I think the Muslim world and the Arab world has to come together.
No, Ambassador Masood, now we understand there was a comprehensive view that you just put forth. Do we understand that this particular plan is solely of the person at the helm of affairs in Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu, or is this particular understanding that is prevalent all across there in Israel?
No, I don't think to just one person. Israel is a state which is, it's a democracy, and it does not work in that way. And in fact, the fact that it was created, if you look at the creation of the state of Israel, it was created on a foreign land, on a land which was already people were living there. It was occupied by the Palestinian people. It was Palestine, and the state of Israel was imposed or created there. So I think this has been a long-standing view of not only just one individual. It has come to that now. For that, there may be internal political reasons for him to do it now, because he has a very weak government in the center, and he's facing a lot of criticism. But I think it is the back of every Israeli. I mean, look at his cabinet. His cabinet members have been saying the same thing. So I think it is across the board. Israelis may say that they want to have a peaceful solution. They want to have 2 states. They want to do this and that. But I think at the back of every Israeli's mind is to remain an occupier and to be an expansionist nation.
Right, Ambassador Masood, I'll come back to you to have your understanding of what that particular statement that has come from the U.S. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby, that there is no reoccupation of Gaza. Of course, we understand from this particular statement that it is unacceptable for the U.S. administration or the people at the hem in the authority over there in the U.S. that they don't want the reoccupation of Gaza. In light of that statement, where does that particular plan of a greater Israel does actually stand? Mr. Haroon, now, do you also agree with Ambassador Masood that at the very first place, the 2-state solution was not going to work out?
Absolutely, yes. I absolutely, second all her points she has placed on table. And here I just want to add 2 important things. First of all, you are saying the Kirby statement about the 2-state theory and the difference between the US and the Israeli viewpoint. My dear, when there will be nobody in Gaza, people would be already dead or left this place, then what will be the result of that? They want to purge everybody. When there would be no Palestinians, so then therefore there would be no Palestine. So this is what they are right now they are following. And this is basically a conspiracy theory, but somehow or other, as a student of political science, political philosophy and history, I believe, this basically, if you go through the history of ISIS, this Daesh had a plan for the Khorasan, the greater Khorasan. I'm referring to whatever Ambassador Saiba has mentioned, because her points are very valid. Someday, I feel ISIS, this Khorasan, the greater Khorasan concept is linked somehow or other with the expansionism of Israel. They have the same ideas. The expansion from Middle East up to the Central Asia and even the Pakistan. So this is what the Israel wanted. They first launched a so-called a Muslim kind of a thought for this expansion, and actually they have in their mind they want to completely control this area, which is called Khorasan by the ISIS. And if you remember, how could be Pakistan a part of Middle East? No, practically we are in South Asia, or we had nothing to do with the Middle East. Why did CENTCOM added Pakistan into Middle East in early 90s? Have anybody among us have written about that? No, we are mum. We didn't respond. Nobody from Pakistan respond. Why? How could we part of a Middle East, and how could we can part of the CENTCOM? This is not the one day. This is a continuous process. Now we are in the Middle East. Technically speaking, if you go, whenever I go to any international conference, and when they tag my Pakistan seat within the Middle East, I never sat over there. I always said, sorry, I wouldn't be here because I'm not a Middle East. So these are the small things which we actually, when they are happening, we don't understand them. But with the passage of time, they become realities. And she's absolutely right. For them, Middle East is as, longer as it ends to Pakistan. So we are not far away from their clutches or from their, futuristic designs.
Right. The point that you just mentioned earlier, a very important point, that when there would be nobody living over there in
yes,
the
there
Gaza
would be
Strip.
nobody over there.
It's a huge population, one of the most densely populated areas in the world, the Gaza Strip. Now, 2.3 million people. We know that what exactly has been going on since 7th of October. It has unleashed the reign of terror and that relentless and indiscriminate bombardment going on, and innocent children and women losing their lives every single day. Now, this is what exactly has been also said by a Palestinian foreign minister at the UNSC, that Israelis do not see our people as an empirical and political reality to exist with, but as a demographic threat to get rid of through this displacement or subjugation. But is it possible to crush 2.3 million population like that,
yes,
and not to be held accountable?
They are killing 10,000 per month. So they can continue this purge for another 2 or 3 years. Who cares? Who would stop them? Is there anybody on earth who can stop them? No, not at all. So 10,000 per month is their, tally. So you can divide it 3 million population to 10,000 per month, so you will have an answer. Or some of them would definitely would leave to Egypt and other countries.
That's a very alarming scenario they've
No,
just sketched right now.
This is the reality.
Let me take Mr. Younas' view on this. Mr. Younas, now, is it even doable, such a huge population of 2.3 million? And as per the calculation that has been done by Mr. Haroon, now 10,000 people almost on average every single month, killing every single person in that particular territory. Is it going to be doable, and nobody is going to stop the hands of Israeli aggression? And especially given the fact we have seen the statements, the concerns coming from the US also, the kind of statement that came from US President Joe Biden also, that because of its indiscriminate bombardment on civilians, it is losing the international support also.
Speak about the statements. I think the statements have no value. You see, the action that will stop this Jewish occupiers' aggression on the Palestinians, that only can be counted. All other statements it's valueless. Number two, you see, since 100 years there were Palestinians living in this old territory, and then we have seen the British colonialism. They have occupied Palestine, and they have fought the Palestinians. They have made many massacres, and they have actually then pushed the Palestinians to travel and to be displaced from Palestine, the whole Palestine, and stay either in Gaza and West Bank, and the others have been forced to live outside Palestine. This is what happens. So we have actually around 9 million Palestinians living outside Palestine because of allowing the Jewish to live inside Palestine. So it happened before. Yeah, it may happen again. For them, it is, yes, it is very possible. And we have no value for them. You see what's happening, we see around 30, by the way, people have been killed, and there's many others under the rebels. Nobody knows the total number of people who have been killed. And as we see, we're still having statements, condemn, this person condemns, good, I'm worried.
Okay, so
but there's nothing realistic on the ground.
From the Western world, especially the
It has
staunch
no value.
allies of Israel.
Valueless.
So what's the way forward?
What's the
way forward? What about those 2.3 million people in the Gaza Strip in particular?
This question is being asked for us, yes, but the states leaders, who have powers, the army leaders, actually those people have to, come and stand forward for the right for those people. This is going to change the whole world. You see, yes, Palestinians have only one option, is to fight back. They have no other option.
Do they? We understand there would definitely be that kind of a will to resist and fight back to this brutal oppression and whatever has been going on, especially since 7th of October. What about the capacity? I mean, the kind of military might and the kind of prowess Israeli regime has got at its hands and the kind of support in terms of the arms sales from the Western world also it has been getting continuously. Even the Biden administration bypassing Congress twice within a month of selling those arms to Israel. So where would that capacity come from?
You see, this much arms they have, but still they are unable to stop the fighters to fight them back from Gaza, which means actually that they are so weak on the ground. You see, you have the weapons, but you don't have the heart, you don't have the right, you don't have, you know, the what do you call it, the concept in your mind that this is my land. They know it's on their land, they know they never stay there, they know they just have this chance, okay, let's kill as much as we can, but they know that they're leaving. That's why they're doing this kind of bombarding, that's why they are trying to kill as much as they can, because for them, yes, this is, it's not there's no way back. Either they stay or not. So you see, by the way, Netanyahu was saying again and again that he's unable to make the people again accept coming back to the what you call it the places where they used to live beside Gaza. So the people are unable. The Jewish are not willing to come back and live beside Gaza because they say maybe tomorrow we have another Palestinians come on our head. So now the fear in their hand is there. The situation is like this. They are not willing to come back, and there's huge people number. I think around 1 million almost have been they left back. They went out from Israel. So it's happening. They have the force, they have the power, but they don't have the right. So if you don't have the right, you can't stay.
So is there any possibility of any sort of this particular reign of terror that has been unleashed by Israel coming to a halt in the near future, given the circumstances turn towards a sort of an agreement between the Palestinian resistant groups, and especially when it comes to releasing those hostages that Israel actually wants?
The groups have said one statement. There is one only way out. Stop all the aggression, pull back all the army, stay away from Gaza, and they have actually said how many kilometers they have to stay away from Gaza. Stop, and they have to give international guarantee for this. Then, after that, they will think about releasing the hostages. It's not going to be like this. You see, we have before this Shalit, when he was arrested, it took 5 years to release him. So it's not being easy. It's not going to be easy, and they know.
So what about those innocent civilians, mostly women and children, who are losing their lives every day because of this brutality of Israel?
So they were losing their life already. You see, it is not today.
But the scale and the proportion of it has gone up manifold.
Who should be blamed? Should we be blamed? Should the resistance be blamed? It's the Jewish army should be blamed. The Israeli army, the Americans who give them the support, they should be blamed. The European Union who support them, who send the weapons, should be blamed. Those people should be blamed, not the Palestinians.
Right. Let me proceed once again to Ambassador Masood. Ambassador Masood, already you were of the view that a two-state solution in the very first place was not going to work out. By looking at this particular statement by John Kirby, U.S. National Security Council spokesperson, that we want governance in Gaza that's representative of the aspirations of the Palestinian people, that they have the vote and voice in what that looks like, and that there is no reoccupation of Gaza. So when he talks of no reoccupation of Gaza, so that shows us that perhaps there is an understanding within the ranks of the US authorities that they are up for that two-state solution as per the UN resolutions.
You see, there is confusion everywhere all along. First of all, I have a feeling that what the statements that are coming out of the United States, including the statement by Kirby, are basically lip service. The United States is totally behind Israel's policy. Israel could not exist, Israel could not fight a single day if it did not have the support of the United States. So for the United States to say that, well, no reoccupation of Gaza, no more an end to hostilities, negotiations should restart on a two-state solution, I think this is all basically lip service because, number one, they know that Israel will never, ever accept a two-state solution. That is not on their agenda, as I said earlier. Secondly, they also know that how is it possible for when Netanyahu and all the Israeli cabinet has very categorically stated that they want to finish off Hamas totally. And when they say they want to finish off Hamas, don't forget Hamas is the political government in Gaza. I mean, they call it a terrorist organization. I don't call it a terrorist organization. They are a government. They are a political state over there. Now, if they want to finish that off, that includes killing children, killing women, killing the elderly, killing off everyone. For them, that doesn't matter. And you know, when you were earlier talking about how this is going to end and are they going to continue killing people? Well, what has been the reaction to the world coming together and calling this a genocide? Has it really affected the US policy, the UK's policy, the European Union's? Everybody is calling it a genocide, but nobody is coming forward to stop it. South Africa has taken them to the court. How much support has South Africa got from the West on this? So you see, the ground reality is, and the unfortunate reality is, that when we talk about realpolitik, I mean, it's good to have diplomatic answers. It's good to have sort of negotiations. Negotiations are the only way forward. But at the moment, Israel is in no position and has no intention of stopping the hostilities. Now, although it has recently pointed out that they are willing to talk to Hamas and release all the captives, all the hostages. So that means both the captives with Hamas as well as the Israeli captives there. So they seem to be making a move forward. But again, I don't see this as lasting very long. Don't forget this conflict, this occupation has been going on for more than 70 years. And I totally agree with our Arab friend that, you know, people under occupation, they will always find a way to resist. You cannot quell the resistance totally. It may die down for some time. There might be a lull. There might be a ceasefire. There might be a period when there is no hostilities. But that does not mean that the spirit of resistance has ended. And I think that the Palestinians have proven that they will be fighting to the last person standing.
Right, Bakir Masood, and if there is no intention on the part of Israelis to leave that occupation, and they have that very plan that you've already put forth of a greater Israel, and at the same time the Palestinian resistance is not going to stop, then what's the way forward in future?
Well, as I said, in the immediate future, I see these hostilities continuing unless it prevails upon the United States. Let's see, they're having elections later on this year. Obviously, whoever comes back into power in the United States will have an important say in this. But whether it is the Republicans or whether it is the Democrat, their Israel policy has always been very consistent. But I feel that if countries in the region, the regional countries, the Muslim countries, and including China and Russia, if these countries could prevail and form some kind of, I wouldn't like to call it a bloc, but I would say that they could come forward together in the United Nations and form a strong pressure group to enable the United States and the UK and the other European powers to accept that Israel has to pull back. This occupation business has to stop. Israel has to accept that that this is the Palestinians' land, and they will have to find a solution in which the Palestinians can live in this land as they were living before. I mean, a two-state solution, I don't know. It seems to be very unworkable, as I stated right at the beginning, both geographically and politically and economically. But maybe within that, they can find some solution by coming together and putting pressure on. First of all, the first thing they have to do, the world has to do, is to stop the war. It is after you stop the war that you try to find ways in which, you can reach an agreement between the Palestinians, because you see, the Palestinians are also divided. You have the West Bank, and then you have the Hamas. So they have to also become united on one front. So but that's a later thing. First, these countries, the regional countries, including China and Russia, have to come together to put pressure on the West and Israel to pull back and stop the hostilities. That's the only way.
And do you think that is doable? Because the kind of votes we have seen at the United Nations Security Council regarding the ceasefire happening, they were vetoed by the United States. So do you think this particular pressure block that you've just suggested it's going to achieve its goals?
I think so. You see, because what are they? You see, what are they trying to do? They want to push the Palestinians out of that territory. So a Nakba, we see a Nakba taking place, right? The Palestinians are moving out of Gaza, but where are they supposed to go? Egypt has closed its borders. Jordan has closed its borders. All the neighboring countries have closed their borders. Now, the first thing they have to do is try to find a way in helping those Palestinians who are trying to get out. And then they can, of course, I mean, I feel that pressure groups in multilateral organizations, in multilateral forums do play a role. And China and Russia can play a very important role. It's going to be difficult because, of course, at the moment, Israel is on a war spree. They're only seeing red, I think. But if they're able to bring, and we haven't talked about what's happening in the Red Sea. There is a very dangerous situation developing over there, which is in fact directly affecting the United States and the Europeans as their ships are being attacked, and as there could be an economic fallout to all this. Now, if all this can come together, I think the United States can be brought under some kind of pressure to tell Israel to stop the hostilities at least. You see, they are not doing enough. They're not putting enough pressure on Israel to stop the hostilities. On the one hand, as I said, they give lip service. They say, yes, we should not have reoccupation. Palestinians have a right to live, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, they're supplying arms, as you yourself pointed out. So, this kind of dual policy will not work.
So Bakir Masood, one more thing concerning this. When you talk about David Cameron's statement that no one wants to see this conflict go on a moment longer than necessary, an immediate pause, he says, is now necessary to get aid in and hostages out. The situation is desperate. What do we understand of this particular statement?
Well, if they want the hostilities to stop, they can stop. But I think that at the moment they are trying to, you see, it's very difficult now. Israel has gone so far ahead that it's going to take some enormous pressure from the United States and the UK to stop Israel also, because I think they have moved so far ahead. If they had these kind of statements had come out right at the beginning, if you remember right at the beginning, the US and UK were not talking about stopping hostilities. They said, oh no, Israel has the right to defend itself. This was the language they were using then. So they were giving Israel more and more edge to go ahead with the war. Now, when they see that things are going out of control, and when that they may get affected, as I said, through what's happening with the Red Sea, because I can see the conflict expanding, and I wouldn't be surprised if the conflict expanded to the entire region. Now that they're seeing it's difficult, now they're telling Israel to stop, whereas Israel has already moved so far ahead. So at the immediately, I don't see much happening. The UN is not being effective. The US and the UK are not being as sincere as we would like them to be, and Israel knows it. And Israel has also gone now too far ahead. They have seen that there is lip service, as I said. People are making statements, people are saying this is condemnable, but no action has been taken on ground. Why not stop the arms supply? Why not boycott and economically blockade Israel? Why don't they do that if they're serious about stopping the war?
Right, Mr. Haroon, now, the two-state solution, as you were also the view that it's not workable. Now, then, do you agree with what has been suggested by Ambassador Masood of creation of a pressure bloc at the United Nations, perhaps in the leadership of Russia and China with the other regional countries on board, given the fact the kind of statements that had come right at the outset of this particular conflict, when there were statements coming from the United Nations Secretary General, the kind of attitude and approach the Israeli authorities had towards him, even asked him to resign from his post at that particular point in time. Do you think, and those vetoes that have been done by the United States also, do you think this particular thing is viable at the United Nations?
I mean, this is what could be done. I mean, I agree with her, but technically speaking, they wouldn't do it. because unfortunately this UN structure is so callous. Even four P's are trying to help the peace, but single P, if it stands against the peace, actually vote goes in favor of the one P that is against the peace. This is the reality of the world. And if you remember, Russia and China are trying their level best, but who will stop? Israel, when there is a veto against any resolution that comes for the ceasefire. As my brother mentioned, this is basically this is a war of a sovereign country. Sovereign countries' war are only fought and won through the guerrilla war. And in guerrilla war, you have to transfer and send your womanhood and children out of this conflict zone. Like you know what happened in Afghanistan. This so-called Mujahideen managed their all families and children to live in Pakistan, and they launched a guerrilla war against the then Soviet Union. So here is not possible, because already mentioned by all of us, all neighboring countries have blocked their way. So the children are there and women are there. When your children and women are there, guerrilla war becomes very difficult. So you have no option just to face your dying son in your hand or your child dying in front of you, and you are continuing the war. Look, the Palestinians should realize the realities. These are realities. They have no other option just to face their dying children and women and continue their strive for a independent state. And the last thing, recently there is a very popular song, particularly in Europe, that is the Leve Palestina, Leve Palestina, long live Palestine. This was first sung in 1970s by a Swedish band, and this band was banned even in 1971. So what is the change? Even in 1971, a Swedish company, Swedish country, which for Swedish, we think they are the champions of human rights and freedom of humanity. They banned them. After 50 years, this song has become a slogan, what we call a nara for everybody, Leve Palestina. But the world has not changed. Europe is standing where it was standing in 1970 when the Golda Meir was coming to Sweden for a visit, and they are all, members were actually not only banned, they were confiscated in a house, so they could not come on the street. So nothing is changed, my dear.
Right, Mr. Haroon, unfortunately we are short of
Yes,
time. Your quick last comment as to what about that particular suit that has been brought by South Africa against Israel at the International Court of Justice?
Yes, one must appreciate them. But I again said this is about, Israel would deny it. It can say, I don't believe in this international court, then nothing will happen. Their death, their martyrdom of Palestinians are written on the wall. Actually, we are not have eyes, and sometimes we are pragmatic, sometimes we are pessimist, but we are not realistic. For realism, we have to think until and unless complete harmony is there among Muslim countries to at least seize Palestine, Israeli, you can say economic interest. Nothing will happen, my dear. We will sit like this for all times to come, and we will tally how many have martyred.
Your point is well taken. Mr. Younas, the viability of creating a pressure bloc at the United Nations level has been suggested by Ambassador Masood. Do you think it could actually pressurize the US? As we have seen, there has been a shift of stance and statement, not to that much of an extent, as Ambassador Masood earlier said, that the US in particular, at the outset of this particular conflict, was saying that it is Israel's right to defend. Now, there is a little bit of a shift in the statements coming now, because they see this particular conflict going to the wider region. So do you think this pressure bloc could actually achieve any sort of result, at least in the immediate term, of stopping these hostilities?
Just let me go back a second. In 1980s, people in Gaza, you know, the Israelis used to occupy full Gaza. In 1980s, they started fighting them back with stones, if you remember. Then now they're fighting them back with their own handmade missiles and handmade pistols, handmade, you know, this RPGs. So I think this huge change have created the real pressure on the Jewish, and their resilience, their stand, their what you call it, strong stand inside Gaza. That actually have pushed all this United Nations, all the statement, US, were in a different direction, because they have found that there's no way of fighting the Palestinians inside Gaza. They're unable to defeat them.
So what are the expectations from ICJ?
From
the International Court of Justice?
Nothing.
Let me go to Ambassador Masood. Ambassador Masood, International Court of Justice, South Africa knocking the door of the highest court of justice in the world. What are your expectations?
It's an incredible move, and we all support it. And the only sad part is that South Africa, a country which, of course, itself has gone through apartheid and understands the dangers of a prolonged conflict, had to do it, and none of the Muslim countries, unfortunately, went for this resolution. But having said that, I would tend to agree with Agha Saab that I don't see anything concrete coming out of that, because I know, there's an arrogance about this. Any occupation power has an arrogance about it. And this arrogance has come because of the years and years of occupation that it has continued over the Palestinian people, and nothing much has been done about it. Let's be frank. Let's be honest. Let's put the cards on the table that, it's been more than 70 years that this country has been under occupation by Israel, and nothing has been done about it. The countries have not come together to put any kind of real pressure on Israel to pull back. So yes, the resolution on genocide is a good step forward, but I don't think it's going to be very effective. The pressure group that I'm talking about in the United Nations can be effective to some extent, but I think it really comes down to brass tacks. You have to stop the supply chain to Israel by the United States.
Is well taken. Ambassador Riffat Masood, unfortunately, we are short of time. I'll have to cut you short over here. Ms. Riffat Masood, former ambassador, thank you very much for taking time out for Views on News tonight. Really appreciate that. In the studio, we were joined by Mr. Agha Iqrar Haroon, senior analyst. Thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on the show tonight. And Mr. Bakir Younas, Arab journalist, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on the show tonight. With that, we come to the end of today's show. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves.